Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much for joining me here. Hope you're having an amazing day. We're taking a look here at Bitcoin, the skyrocket, see what's going on here. Of course, we're gonna look at some back-end data that's really interesting here today. And then of course, obviously make sure we understand, big picture, best practice. And if you take a look at this here too, I've been talking about this for a little while, this descending wedge breakout, it's just so perfect. That's exactly what's supposed to happen. Works itself into a descending type of trend because it originated from the downside and then it continues upwards, right? It's essentially a very common characteristic, especially in crypto trading. So just keep in mind, that's kind of what we're seeing here. We are seeing the point right now hit this 1.618 Fibonacci retracement level. So keep in mind, that is a very important level because 1.618 or 0.618 are very common areas in which we see retracement and or just initial rejection. So we could see that price getting rejected off that and come back down, or we could see it continue higher. But key takeaway here is that 30,000 is likely the new support if we can close above that level here today, which seems very probable. Okay, so again, cool stuff here. Try not to short into this. I know a lot of people are getting wrecked. In fact, we're going to take a look at some open interest and see exactly what that looks like. Before we do, just ask you a quick favor here. If you could please help us join our Twitter here and help us grow. We're at 97 followers here in roughly a week. That's actually not too bad, all things considered. So greatly appreciate you coming on over there. It's awesome to be able to interact and communicate with our members. So just another great medium for us to be able to communicate and keep that open dialogue. So check that out. And of course, like, follow, and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already. So what we want to look at is some really interesting, cool stuff here. So obviously we can acknowledge that volume is extremely higher than before. We've seen this happen before, but we haven't seen it happen in 2 or 3 days in a row. So we're looking awesome here in that sense. We can see some massive shorts getting liquidated, which is kind of nice for a change because a lot of those bears were calling 20,000 for that CME gap. We effectively have filled the CME gap between 29 and 30,000. That's one thing we'll talk about here next. Also keep in mind too, whales are chilling. They're not doing hardly anything at all. In other words, smaller position sizes are ruling the roost for the moment. So we can kind of see here that the price action being where it's at, we saw retail previously very active in the 30,000 range. Okay, so as long as we stay over 30,000, we should be able to maintain this uptrend. We can also see there is a lot more longs opening today versus closing today. That's a good sign. Coincidentally, the same thing here with shorts too. They keep trying to get in, but they keep getting liquidated. So try not to be on the short train. Obviously, you might be able to find some wins, but they got to be really tight, and it's not really all that optimal. Okay, so take a look here at open interest. Take a look at some longs. We can kind of see here that some late longs, even right here at the, what is that? That's the 29,700 mark, roughly, 29.8. They're all in the green right now, and some previous longs are also in the green. But most of those positions have been closed because they've taken their profits like you should. Similarly, we can see here there is a lot of havoc here for shorts. So pretty much all black here. In other words, those are all positions that have been forcefully closed. And we can see, of course, there are some late shorts here right at 30,500, which isn't a terrible consideration because we just hit that 0.618 Fibonacci retracement level. It would make sense to see a pullback to maybe the 30,000 range. Again, a little too early to tell because honestly, we don't have a lot of confirmational signs just yet, considering we have very little data in this range. Obviously, we have previous data, but that doesn't tell us too much. In fact, if we take a look at this here, we almost surpassed our highest hot point in the recent past at 31,000. Yeah, so again, we're really close to that. So try not to get crazy on the shorts, but I totally get the concept of the sentiment of wanting to short from 30,700 to 30,000. That may be a likelihood. We just want to wait for some confirmational signs. We'll look at our CC Golden Indicator to see if we have that overextension and a few other factors. There's a great chance we are overextended on the hourly and the 4-hour, which we were last night, as a matter of fact, before when I made that last video. So again, all things considered, that's kind of where we're at. Also, one last thing here, just to jump right in as well. Congrats to our community members here. I mean, look at this here. Nate Dogg, well done. Keep coming back. This guy's always powered through there. Nice 80% Bitcoin long there. And obviously Alexandru and a few other of our community members here kicking some serious tail. So keep up the good work, guys. Greatly proud of you, and I just think it's really awesome what you're doing. And again, as a community, we took a nice 40% in 4 days from Bitcoin, and what was it, 25% from Ender in 4 hours. So, again, a lot of cool stuff's happening here. We got some really cool, awesome consistency here as well with our day trades. Nice 5%, 1%, 5%, 12%. It just kind of adds up over time, right? And that's the whole point, is to always be winning. So with those high conversion rates, you can just put yourself on autopilot and go from there. Cool stuff. All right. So again, well done everyone on that. Super proud of you guys. Let's take a look at the daily though, and this is something that's kind of interesting to me. We are peaking up over 70 at the moment, so if we close above this level here today, we could very well see further upside. It's a unique occurrence, but it does happen a lot in crypto trading, whereas the price action jumps above 70 on the RSI and doesn't look back. Okay. Now we had a pretty monumental run to 70. I mean, we were literally at 50 or less 2 days ago. And if you look roughly 5 trading days ago, we were at 25,000. So we were literally about, what, 20 to 25% lower in price, no less than 5 days ago. That's an average of 5% growth per day. That is insane. Again, compare that to the traditional markets, that is out of this world. But MACD is converging here quite strong. The thing we want to kind of look at would be the moving averages. And again, as I mentioned before, being above that 50 is important. That was 27,000. That was literally yesterday morning, we were at 27,000. So great news there. We're well above all moving averages. We have green lights here to essentially leave your long positions open. I wouldn't consider a short just yet, but I do think as we get closer to today's trading day being closed, you may want to consider some tight shorts if that's something you insist on. But right now, I think it's best just to kind of stay aside because, I mean, honestly, 30,000 you would expect to have been a resistance level, and it wasn't. The price just continued to blast straight through there. Okay, so again, cool stuff here in the overall sense of things. Let's take a quick peek over the 4-hour. And note a couple of things here too. We want to take a quick look at which one was it? Well, let's look at overextension here. First of all, RSI at 95. That's extremely high. Okay, so the probability of a pullback from here seems sensible to me. How hard will it pull back? It's hard to say. It may not pull back too much, but hitting that 1.618 at 30,700 seems to be the highest point in which it should have gone. We take a look at TD sequential here. We should have consolidated or retraced roughly at the 28,400 mark, but the price continued higher. So while I'm very, very glad to see the price where it's at, it is absolutely way further than it should be at this moment. Again, stranger things can happen, but if you look at this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 candles in, we're 20 hours extra overtime here. So everything is just screaming overextension on the 4-hour. Again, not the only reason to consider a long position, or sorry, a short position, but also just something to recognize that it is absolutely a realistic thing. Okay, so in other words, you can be overextended all day long, but if the volume continues, then there's no reason to try to buy into it. So take a look at this here. The volume is still increasing, as we can see here. So as it starts to taper off, we might see something change, but I would recommend waiting until the end of today's trading day before you take a short position. Again, unless you're like a riskier folk there and you want to try to get in early, but I think it's still going to keep going. Keep this in mind though. Take a look at the TD sequential here. We've hit 2 nines in a row, or actually no, we haven't hit 2 nines in a row. We're about 3 hours into this, or left in this. Now let me explain it. So previously we saw a 9 here on TD sequential. Price pulls back to bounce off that Fibonacci retracement level 26.6. That was a pivot point that we were looking at previously. And then of course it jumps up to a 9, should have consolidated and retraced, but it didn't. It continues upwards. It then consolidates for about 3 or 4 hours, well, maybe more like 6 or 7, and then resets, and now we're up to a 6. Okay, so good news is we have this little staircase pattern here, so it does make it moderately healthy continuation. I'm not saying this is perfect by any stretch, but the fact that we see that previous 9 followed by a consolidation period, and then this new 6 here, tells me we're probably going to see another 3 to 6 hours of continuation either to the upside or sideways from here. I wouldn't expect the price just to drop like a rock. It doesn't make a tremendous amount of sense with this amount of buying pressure, and you can see all the shorts getting squeezed out. There's literally no bears in sight. So that's why the price is running right now, okay? Because they all got squeezed out like multiple times, and they're kind of on the sidelines saying, I don't like this. I don't like losing this much money. So we're going to go ahead and chill out and take it easy until the price relaxes. So once again, this being at 1.618 Fibonacci level, there's a strong chance that will be the resistance level for us here, and it shouldn't go any further. But once again, we want to wait for that to close and find out. Okay, so again, hourly looks fantastic in that sense. There's no reason to trade into that to the downside. Leave your long positions open. It wouldn't hurt to consider taking some profits depending on the type of position you have. I added to my bags pretty heavy at the 26,000 range, so obviously for my spot, I'm leaving that alone. You should too. But on the same accord, if you have like a swing trade that might be open from yesterday to today, you may want to consider taking some profits because you're probably 15 to 20% up on a traditional trade. And if there's any leverage there, you're doing pretty well for yourself. So keep up the good work to those who have persevered through this here. It was nice to get these gains here. Take a look really quick here. Let's take a look at CC Golden. And we can see we don't have a sell signal just yet. We just have the buy signal here at about 28.5. Okay, or sorry, 28,800. So long story short, we're waiting for that to pull back, and as we can see, we're not fully ready for a sellout, right? So in other words, we could really see the price continue much further from here. Bollinger Bands, we are a little bit on the overextended side there. We should see a contraction. That's why I'm expecting the price to go sideways for a few more hours, potentially down. I do think that if we were to pull back, let's take a look at Elliott Wave and see, we should see some of these lower Fibonacci retracement levels. So let's go ahead and do this. And what I do, I always send this out on our Twitter here and also our Telegram. So if you're not part of that, link down below, of course, to go ahead and register. But it's really simple and straightforward. When we see pullbacks of this magnitude, they're typically going to retrace to the 0.382, 0.5, or 0.618 levels. Okay? Those are just common characteristical retracement zones. In this sense, if we do see a massive pullback, 29.1 would be the initial starting point. I don't think we're going to see that, though. I do think it's more realistic to see somewhere in the range of 29.8 or basically 30,000. Those would be more likely pivot points, but if the price were to pull back further, you can expect this here. So again, I'll post this on our Twitter and Telegram. Make sure to check that out if you haven't already. Links down below. Those are free groups, of course, where you can kind of track and enjoy all the technical fundamental data that we have for you. So long story short here, am I expecting a pullback to 29,100? No. I am expecting a retracement to 30,000 as a potential reality after a couple more hours of the price kind of going sideways. It may even pull back immediately. It's hard to say specifically. We are seeing some rejection here finally, but once again, this is a really strong retracement level. Okay, so important to recognize that we have some things in play here where we're overextended on a lot of time frames. A pullback would make sense, but I would not get too aggressive with your shorts. I'd keep them really tight to make sure you take some profit if you have the opportunity. But again, stranger things can happen, right? So just be careful and cautious with what you do here today. It's a unique trading environment, and you want to just kind of wait for some kind of confirmational signs. We are waiting here for the price to pull back a little bit before taking either the next long, or if it stays at this level here for too long, it might be a consideration for a short. We do want to wait a little while. All right, I hope that made sense and I wasn't too long-winded here today. Thanks again so much for joining us here, of course. Again, you want to become a better trader, cryptocash.tech is a site. It looks something like this here, where you can kind of learn and grow to become a better trader. We do offer day trades and swing trades, of course, now as part of our Premium Plus package. So really awesome opportunity there. So be sure to check that out. Thanks again to all our community members for just making our lives a great place. I look forward to working with you. Have a great rest of your day. See you soon.